In a warehouse in Georgia, a robot just moved its 100,000th box. No breaks, no complaints, no paycheck. 2026 is the year the humanoid robot stopped being a demo and started showing up for work. Tesla, a Chinese startup, and the company behind those viral backflipping robots are now racing to build a machine shaped like you, that works like you, for a fraction of your salary. For the first time, this is not a science fiction trailer. It is a purchase order signed by some of the biggest companies on Earth. For 50 years, robots could barely walk across a room without falling over. So what actually changed? The same AI revolution that gave us ChatGPT just handed robots a brain. NVIDIA calls it physical AI. The idea that the next chapter of AI happens not on a screen, but in the real world. Their robot foundation model, Isaac GR00T, lets a machine learn a task by watching video, the way you'd learn from a tutorial. Suddenly, robots can generalize. They can attempt a task nobody explicitly programmed them to do. Cheaper motors, better batteries, and billions of dollars in funding did the rest. The real breakthrough was not a better body, it was a better brain, and it came straight out of the AI boom. And the cost of the AI brain itself is collapsing every single year. Engineers now train a robot inside a simulation, running millions of virtual attempts overnight, then pour that learning into the real machine. They call it sim to real, and it is the trick that finally made progress go vertical. 10 years of robotics progress now happens in roughly 10 months. Start with the one everyone knows, Tesla's Optimus. 5'8", 125 pounds, designed to walk straight onto a factory floor and pick up where a human left off. Musk's whole pitch is the price, $20,000 to $30,000 at scale, cheaper than the average new car. Volume production is slated to begin at Tesla's Fremont plant this summer, if it ships on time, which is a very big if. Tesla's real advantage was never the robot. It is the factory next door that can stamp out millions of almost anything. Optimus already shuffles around Tesla's own plants, sorting parts and carrying bins. Supervised, but real. Then there's Figure, a startup that went from unknown to a multi-billion-dollar valuation in about 2 years. Their robot, Figure 03, is already inside a BMW plant in South Carolina, handling real parts on a real production line. In March, they showed it off at the White House. Robots are now a national talking point. Every one of these companies is selling the same dream, a worker that never sleeps, never quits, and never asks for a raise. Figure builds almost everything itself, its own AI, its own hardware, even its own robotic hands. The bet is simple. A robot you can just talk to, that quietly works out the steps on its own. You probably know Boston Dynamics from the robots doing backflips and parkour all over the internet. In 2026, they finally shipped a production model. Electric, not hydraulic. Built to work, not to go viral. 56 joints, lifts 50 kilograms, and it's heading straight into Hyundai's car factories. The old Atlas was a research stunt that ran on hydraulics and theatrics, leaking fluid between takes. The new one is deliberately boring, and boring is exactly what a factory is willing to pay for. But the company that might matter most is one you have probably never heard of. China's Unitree sells a full-size humanoid robot for around $16,000. That is not a typo. While American robots cost as much as a house, Unitree's costs less than a used car. They're targeting 20,000 units this year, up from 5,000, and they just filed to go public. China isn't trying to build the best robot. They're trying to build the cheapest one, by the million. Apptronic, 1X, and Sanctuary AI are all chasing the very same prize, with billions of dollars behind them. China is running the same playbook it used on solar panels and electric cars. Flood the market, crush the price, and win on sheer volume before anyone else catches up. Dozens of Chinese startups are now sprinting alongside Unitree, many of them backed by the state. The result is a brutal price war that is dragging the entire industry down, fast. And then there's the quiet winner, Agility Robotics. Their robot, Digit, isn't flashy. It moves totes around a warehouse. That is the entire job. But it is already working real shifts at GXO and Amazon, and it crossed 100,000 boxes moved. And you don't even buy a Digit. You rent the work it does. They call it robots as a service. Digit does not need to be brilliant. It needs to be reliable and cheap enough to rent by the hour. Amazon alone moves billions of packages a year. Even a tiny slice of that is a giant market. Hospitals, retail floors, even construction sites are quietly starting to run their first pilots. Behind every one of these robots is a wall of money. Billions in venture capital have poured into humanoids, betting that a general-purpose worker is the single biggest market in history. The logic is simple and a little unsettling. There are jobs nobody wants to do and not enough people to do them. Now every major tech company is circling robotics, checkbook open. Because if this actually works, the prize is not a gadget. The prize is human labor itself. So, where are they actually working today? Car factories, fulfillment centers, warehouses, the dull, repetitive, body-wrecking jobs, the ones with the highest turnover and the most injuries. And for now, almost always with a human standing nearby, watching. The robots that win will not be the smartest ones. They will be the ones that just keep showing up. So how does one of these things actually decide what to do? Cameras for eyes, a neural network for instinct, electric motors for muscle. Show it a cluttered shelf, and it can now figure out how to grab the one box you actually asked for. Because here is the part the hype videos quietly skip. Most of these robots run for about 90 minutes to a few hours. Then they have to stop and charge. A human works an 8-hour shift. Closing that battery gap could take years. Their hands are still clumsy. A robot can carry a box, but folding a shirt or threading a wire is genuinely hard. And those flawless demos? Many are teleoperated by a human, or staged and shot retake after retake. A single advanced unit can still cost more than a house, although prices are falling fast. Walking, it turns out, is basically solved. Hands are absolutely not. A toddler can tie a shoelace better than the most advanced robot on the planet. And every one of them is a single software bug away from doing something spectacularly dumb. Strip away the marketing, and most of these machines are still toddlers in metal bodies. Which brings us to the question everyone is actually asking. Are these things coming for our jobs? Honestly, not next year. The robots aren't good enough yet, and there simply aren't enough of them. But the direction is clear. The first jobs to go won't be the creative ones. They'll be the physical, repetitive ones we already can't fill. For the next few years, the real story is reskilling, not replacement. After that, honestly, nobody knows. The real question was never whether robots can work. It is whether they are cheaper than the humans doing it now. At $16,000 and falling, that math is quietly starting to flip. And this is quietly becoming a national race. America has the best AI. China has the cheapest, fastest manufacturing. Whoever can build a good robot, and build it by the million, may win the next industrial revolution. The United States is writing the software. China is pouring the steel. Both are certain they are going to win. For now, the robots are clumsy, expensive, and supervised. But so was the very first car and the very first computer. 2026 wasn't the year robots took over. It was the year they clocked in. We have spent an entire century imagining this exact moment in films, in fiction, and in fear. It turns out the robot future does not arrive with a bang. It arrives with a night shift. The question is no longer whether this happens. It is how fast, and who ends up controlling it. If this rewired your brain a little, subscribe. We break down the future every single week.